I think the last class you have some doubt about to use the Smith chart to compute the transmission line length as well as the stub length. So once again I briefly describe you how to use the Smith chart to get the transmission line length value as well as the length of the stub value. Say the problem is we have to design an amplifier at 4 gigahertz, and one constraint is you have to use a single stub matching section. So this is the one constraint is given. So in our matching network design we have to use the single stub matching section, and the given device is gallium arsenide MESFET is our active device, is going to be used to design the amplifier, and the S parameter of this MESFET is tabulated as for 3 different frequency 3 gigahertz, 4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. The values are tabulated. So the first step is we have to ensure the stability. To ensure the stability, we have to inspect the reverse transmission coefficients, that is S1, 2. The S1, 2 should be 0 for unilateral device. If the device is unilateral, then the device will be unconditionally stable. In fact, we no need to test the K factor or mu factor with del values. Whereas in this problem or design, the S12 value is not 0, but it has some finite value of 0.03 at the 3 different frequency as 3, 4 and 5 gigahertz. Since the S12 is not equal 0, therefore the given device is bilateral device. So it is bilateral type. When the device is bilateral or S12 has some value other than 0, then we have to test its stability for the frequency of interest. In this design, the frequency of interest is 4 gigahertz. At 4 gigahertz, it should be in stable. Okay. Now, the first thing is we have to compute the K factor and del value. K factor and del values are computed. If you see the K factor value, actually the K factor value should be greater than 1 and del value should be less than 1 to ensure the stability. Here, at our frequency of interest, that is 4 gigahertz, K value is greater than 1, del value is less than 1. Therefore, the device is unconditionally stable at the frequency of interest 4 gigahertz, whereas at 3 gigahertz, the K value is 0.77, which is less than 1, whereas the del value is 0.59, which is less than 1. So the del value gets satisfied to ensure the stability, whereas the K value is not getting satisfied because this value is 0.77, but the K value should be greater than 1 for stability. Therefore, at 3 gigahertz, the device is not stable. Anyway, at our required frequency of operation, that is 4 gigahertz, K value is greater than 1, del value is less than 1, therefore it is unconditionally stable. So the next thing is we have to compute the gamma S and gamma L value by using these formulas gamma S, gamma L, where the parameters V1, V2, C1, C2 are given in this equation 12.41. By using the S parameter of the given device, we can compute the factors B1, B2, C1, C2, then substitute these values at the equation 1240. We will be getting the gamma S and gamma L values. Once we compute the gamma S and gamma L value, that is gamma S in this design 0.87 to 123 degree and gamma L is 0.876 with angle 61 degree. Once we compute this value, next we can compute the gain values. The GS is the transducer gain obtained from the complex conjugately matched input section, that is at the source side. So when the source side is completely conjugately matched, then we will be getting the gain of GS equals 6.2 dB. And G0 is the absolute gain can be obtained from the device itself. That value is modulus of S21 square. When we transform into decibel unit, that is 10 logarithm of this value is 6.76 gives us 8.3 dB. And for GL, GL is the transducer gain when the load side is complex conjugately matched. By using this formula, we can compute the GL value as 1.67, which comes as 2.22 dB. Once we compute the each section gain, so the total maximum transducer gain will be the summation of these three gain values. So the maximum gain that can be obtained from the amplifier system is 16.7 dB. And next is, this is the device, this is the source, this portion is the source, and this is the load. Now we have to realize the required gamma S and gamma L value. The gamma S is the reflection looking towards the source through the matching network. So this is the gamma S. Similarly, the gamma L is the reflection looking towards the load through the output matching network. So this is gamma L. We have to realize this value. That means we have to transform the 50 ohm into the source impedance ZS corresponds to gamma S. And similarly, we have to transform we have to realize the gamma L. That means we have to transform the 50 ohm load into the gamma L value. That is, the load impedance corresponds to the gamma L. This is what we have to do. For that, we are going to design a matching network, one at the source end, another one at the load end. To compute the length of the transmission line, this is one series transmission line. And this one is the open circuited stub. So open circuited stub. Both has characteristics impedance of 50 ohm. The only thing is we have to compute the length. So this problem, the length is 0.206 lambda. This is the length. Similarly, the length of the series transmission line is 0.12 lambda. So these are the two lengths. At the source side, we have to compute by using Smith chart. The first thing is you have to draw a straight line for gamma s 123 degree. So now you draw a straight line at 123 degree. This Smith chart I have posted in your WhatsApp group. This one for the load side. Yeah, this is the source side. First you draw a mark 123 degree. So this is the 123 degree on the Smith chart. This is the 123 degree. Now you draw a straight line from 123 degree point on the Smith chart to the center of the Smith chart. So now you draw a straight line from 123 degree to the center of the Smith chart, and also extend the line in the opposite direction. Okay, then you extend the line in the opposite directions. Afterwards, now from the center of the Smith chart, which corresponds to 50 ohm line, you mark some arbitrary point on the unit circle. So this circle is called unit circle because this circle is passing through middle of the Smith chart 1. The middle of the Smith chart is 1. This circle is passing through the middle of the Smith chart 1. This circle is called unit circle. Okay, so you draw a contour line over the unit circle and stop it somewhere. Arbitrarily you can draw it. The only thing is you have to draw the contour line on the unit circle and stop it somewhere. Arbitrarily you can put it somewhere. Okay, there you read the reactance value. So the upper side of the Smith chart with respect to the horizontal line, middle line, is the positive J, that is inductive. Lower will be capacitive. But this chart here we are going to use as a admittance chart. Therefore, this will be in a reverse way. Now you read the reactance value at this point. You just extend the reactance circle. So when you extend the reactance circle, it goes like this. It will be intersecting the wavelength towards the generator scale at 0.2 This one is 246. So 0.06 lambda is the point. Now you measure the length of the open circuited stub from the extreme left end of the Smith chart. This end is the extreme left end of the Smith chart, which is corresponds to 0. So from this point, extreme left end of the Smith chart, now you measure the length over the Smith chart wavelength towards generator scale up to this. So the length will be, this is 0. This way you are reading on the Smith chart, it will be comes as 0.206 lambda. Therefore, the length of the stub is 0.206 lambda. So this one we have found now. So this is the stub, open circuited stub, whose length is 0.206 lambda. This one. Next we have to compute the length of the line, transmission line, series transmission line from the MESFET towards the source. For that, now you draw a straight line passing through this arbitrary point where you left the contour. Now you draw a straight line passing through this point from the center of the Smith chart. Now you draw it, a straight line passing through this left out point. That point will be intersecting on the scale, outer scale, that is wavelength towards generator scale at about 0.208 lambda. Okay. Now you measure from this point to the extended line. So this one is 0. This axis is about 0.33 lambda. This one. Now you measure the distance between these 2 points. So 0.33 minus 0.208. It will be 0.122 approximately, or it is approximately 0.12. So it is 0.12. So the difference is 0.12 lambda. This is the length of the series line, this one. So this is the way to get the length of the stub as well as the length of the series line from the Smith chart. I think you all get clear now. Similarly, we have to design the output matching network, this one. Here, this network consists of one series line and one open circuited stub. We have to compute the length. This one I have posted in your group WhatsApp. So to compute the gamma L, first you have to measure the radius of the Smith chart from the center to the innermost circle. So this is the center, this is the innermost circle. Now you measure the distance. The distance of this particular Smith chart is 8.5 centimeter. So this is 8.5 centimeter. Now you multiple this 8.5 centimeter with gamma L, magnitude of the gamma L value. What is the magnitude of gamma L? .876. You multiple 0.876 with 8.5 centimeter, which gives us 7.5 centimeter. So this is the 7.5 centimeter. Now you mark the before that, what is the angle of gamma L? The angle of the gamma L 61 degree. Now you mark the 61 degree on the Smith chart. This is the 61 degree. So this point is the 61 degree. Now use draw a straight line from the center of the Smith chart passing through 61 degree. You draw it a straight line, and also you extend the straight line in the opposite direction. So when you extend the line in opposite direction, it will be crossing at OL. Okay, so up here to there it is 7.5 centimeter. This also is 7.5 centimeter. We are not at all interested to know the 7.5 centimeter, because when you try to measure the load admittance, then you have to read the OL point here. How to mark the OL point? The OL point is 7.5 centimeter from the middle of the Smith chart. Here you can read the real and imaginary part. This will be the real part. This is the imaginary part. So roughly this is the real part, and this one is the imaginary part. Okay, you can read the load admittance this way. Once you extend this way, this line, the next is you draw a contour on the unit circle. So this is the contour, you draw it on the unit circle and stop it somewhere arbitrarily. Okay, so you can stop it anywhere arbitrarily. That's why I tell you this is the only, this is not a unique solution for the design of output matching network. Similarly, input matching network also. There are number of possible network that we can design. Therefore, here you can see that in this case we leave it at this point arbitrarily. Okay, we leave it at this point arbitrarily. Now you mark the reactance. You extend the reactance circle and read the distance scale on wavelength towards generator. So this is 0.206 lambda. Now you measure the length from extreme left end of the Smith chart from here and measure it up to this length will be 0.206 lambda. So this is the stub length. Now you can see this is the stub length this one stub length 0.206 lambda. The next we have to compute the length of the series line. To compute the length of series line, again you draw a straight line from the center of the Smith chart passing through this arbitrary point. So now you draw a straight line passing through this arbitrary line. After drawing this line, now you measure the distance between this line and this extended line, and this extended line is 0.416 lambda. This one is 0.208 lambda. So the difference is 0.416 minus 0.208, which is equal 0.21 lambda. So that 0.21 lambda is the length of the series line. So 0.21. This is 0.21. So roughly this also equals approximately 0.21 lambda. This is the way to construct input and output matching network and to get the line length as well as the stub length using the Smith chart. So this completes the design. In the last class we discussed the procedure to design a microwave amplifier to get the maximum gain. So just now we discussed about the procedure of designing a amplifier for maximum gain. How much maximum gain that we can able to get it out of the amplifier system. That was discussed just now. Now we are going to discuss the procedure to design a microwave amplifier for a specified gain. Why we need to design a amplifier with a specified gain? So the reason is sometimes we have to design a amplifier with the gain which is less than the maximum available gain to ensure the bandwidth. So that is the reason why we are going to design an amplifier with a lower gain than the maximum available gain. How we are going to get the lower gain? As we discussed in the last class, the gain is decided by three sections in the amplifier. So in the amplifier we have a device, let us say a BJT, and we have connected input and output matching network. One at the input side and another one will be at the output side. And this matching network in turn connects the source impedance. Let us say Z0, characteristic impedance of let us say 50 ohm normally, and the output matching network which connects the output port of the device with the load. The load is let us say 50 ohm. This is our L. This is ZS or RS. Now, because of the introduction of this matching network, we will be able to get the maximum gain of GS. And a device can give the gain of G0. And because of this inclusion of matching network at the load side, we will be getting the gain of GL. We cannot alter the gain of the device because the device gain is decided by the S parameter, that is S21. The S21 decide the gain of the device. S21 is controlled by the manufacturer, not by the designer. Therefore, we cannot control the gain. Therefore, we can have it as it is, the gain, the available gain G0. But we can control the gain of GS and GL by deliberately mismatch the matching network. These are the matching network. Input matching network. This is the output matching network. Once we deliberately mismatch the input as well as output matching network, we can control the gain of GS and GL respectively. Therefore, the thing is here, we are going to deliberately mismatch the input and output matching network and then reduce the gain of GS and GL to get the specified gain. Okay, for example, suppose the G0 can be able to give the gain of 2 dB and GS can give the gain of 10 dB and the GL can give the gain of let us say again 5 dB. But in one particular applications where we need to get the gain of only 8 dB. So, for one applications we need the gain of 8 dB from the complete amplifier system. But the maximum gain can be obtained from this system will be this 10 dB plus the device can deliver 2 dB plus the output matching network can deliver the gain of 5 dB. So, total gain will be 17 dB. Ten plus 2 plus 5, 17 dB. But how much we are in need? Only 8 dB. So, we need an amplifier with the gain of 8 dB only. So, what we are going to do is, we cannot alter the 2 dB gain. Therefore, we can take it as it is 2 dB because the 2 dB from the device. Therefore, we can take it. And the remaining 2 dB for getting 8 dB of gain, we need to have 6 dB of gain. So, for the 6 dB of gain, we can have 4 dB from the input matching and 2 dB from the output matching. So, in the input matching, we are deliberately reduce the or mismatch the input matching network to get the 4 dB and to make a loss of minus 6 dB. So, when we make a loss of minus 6 dB from the maximum gain available from the input matching network, we will be getting only the 4 dB. Similarly, in the output matching network, we are doing the deliberate mismatching and hence we are making the minus 3 dB of loss. Then we will be having only 2 dB. So, now 4 plus 2 plus 2, 8 dB, we will be getting only the 8 dB. So, this is the procedure that we are going to follow to design a amplifier with a specified or required gain. So in this discussions, we are going to have only the unilateral device, that is S12 is small enough to be ignored. We assume that the S12 is very small to ignore its value. Okay, because of this ignorance, or we are not going to take the S12 value into account, as we are going to make the S12 value 0 instead of the actual value. Suppose the one particular device, active device, whose S12 values, let us say 0.03, it is negligibly small, where we can approximately make it S12 equals 0. Because of this approximation, we are encountering a error. Okay, so that error that we can compute it in the gain. So by using the ratio GT by GTU, GT is the transducer gain. It is a actual gain that we are going to get. GTU is the transducer gain for corresponds to the unilateral device. So this definition gives the ratio of error. So the error in the transducer gain caused by approximating S12 as 0 is given by the ratio G2 by GTU. So the error will be in the range of 1 by 1 plus u the whole square to 1 by 1 minus u the whole square. Error will be in between these two values. The u is called unilateral figure of merit. So the unilateral figure of merit is defined as u equals S12, S21, S11, S22 divided by 1 minus S11 square of 1 minus S22 whole square. Now the expression for the GS and CL for unilateral case, GS is the gain obtained from the source side, which is equals 1 minus gamma S mod square divided by 1 minus S11 of gamma S whole square. Similarly, GL equals 1 minus gamma L square divided by modulus of 1 minus S22 gamma L whole square. The gains are maximized when gamma S equals S11 star and gamma L equals S22 star. So for the maximum case, the GL maximum will be corresponds to the gamma S equals S11 star. Now you put the gamma S as S11 star. Is a complex conjugate of S11 parameter. So the S11, if you put here S11 star, we will be getting 1 minus modulus of S11 star square. Modulus means only we are going to take the amplitude into account. Similarly, here the gamma S is S11 star, then it becomes already S11. The gamma S is S11 star to get the maximum gain, and S11 star will be equals modulus of S11 square, because S11 is the one complex number, S11 star is its conjugate. When you take the product of a complex number with its complex conjugate, which gives the magnitude square. Therefore, in this place we can put 1 minus S11 modulus square whole square. So we can simplify this. It remains 1 by 1 minus S11 whole square. Similarly, when you substitute the gamma L is S22 star, here it becomes S22 star square. So it will be modulus square, because we are going to take only the amplitude. So the amplitude of a complex number and its complex conjugate will be same. Then the gamma L is S22 square. This is S22. It will be S22 star number and its conjugate gives modulus of S22 square. Then the upper one is 1 minus modulus S22 square, lower one is modulus of 1 minus S22 modulus square. Therefore, we can simplify as 1 by 1 minus modulus of S22 square. Next, we are going to do the normalized gain factor GS GL. This is the maximum gain. This is the actual gain for unilateral case. This is the maximum gain. So, the normalized gain will be this actual value divided by the maximum value. So, this actual value GS by GS max gives us this expression divided by this expression. Therefore, it will be the product of 1 minus S11 square times this expressions. Similarly, for the GL, it will be the normalized value GL equals the GL divided by GL max, which gives this function. Then we have that the GS value will be between 0 to 1, GL also between 0 to 1. Therefore, the maximum will be unity or 0 dB. For fixed value of GS and GL, this equations 1248 represents circles in the gamma S or gamma L plane. When we multiply this, the GS with this expression, cross multiplication, then we do the mathematical manipulation. This expression will be the equation of a circle. Then this equation of circle with its center CS and radius RS. CS is center of the constant gain circle at the source side. It is the radius of the constant gain circle at source side. And GS is a complex number, whereas RS will be in real number. Similarly, for the output section, CL is the center of the constant gain circle at the load end, and RL is the radius of constant gain circle at the load end. With this, we can finish it today. The design we will be discussing in the next class.